What's up, guys? Duke Delate here for the Intimacy Liberation Army. Should probably attach the microphone. And I am talking today in my self-awareness month of January. We're talking about self-awareness and how it works in your relationships. Yesterday we talked about journaling and the journaling practice for figuring out what kind of emotions that you go through in a day, figure out what triggered them, figure out what you could have done better or what you could have tried differently to respond to those triggers in a more holistic or mindful way. Yesterday I said how to generate self-awareness in 1.5 minutes of quick journaling. I'm going to add a couple more things because yesterday's lesson plan had a bunch more stuff in it, and I just didn't get to it because I was too busy ranting about self-awareness in general. So just as a quick recap, we have self-awareness matters in your relationships by letting you understand your emotions, letting you improve your relationships by getting your communication better, being able to be more clear when you speak to people, and having empathy in those relationships because you can see that they're coming from a different perspective or a different frame, and it helps you boost your decision-making skills because your impulsive reactions that get brought up from your childhood trauma or your there's just the click word patterns that you learned to deal with your emotional triggers. They are probably not the things that serve you now. It maybe kept you safe when you were younger, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it applies to all the situations now. And so your decision making is much better when you can stop, evaluate the decision or evaluate the situation that you're currently in and see if that strategy is still going to work for you or if you can choose a different strategy and test it. So that's why it matters. And so my argument yesterday was that you should create a daily practice to become more self-aware. And the first thing I talked about was journaling, and just if you want to go into the deep depths of it, watch that video over there. And the second thing is a mindfulness practice. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to go mindful, and I'll probably do something really deep on mindfulness at one point later in the year. But most of these daily videos are about tactical and really changing things and getting results for you, so your relationships get better quickly. So there's a whole bunch of stuff written on mindfulness, but the basics of mindfulness is this: all of the things that come up for you. Who was it? I think it was Julian. He told me it's like all your thoughts roll by you in a river, and you can either attach to those things and get dragged down with the current, or you can just kind of watch them roll by. And so all of your triggers, when they come up and your emotions come up and you're like, I feel betrayed, I feel slighted, I feel like I'm not important, I feel like I'm invalidated, all those things come up, you can either attach to them, identify with them, and get dragged down with the current and follow that journey wherever it goes. Or you can just kind of watch it go by and be like, that's an emotion. Let's bring myself back to feeling what I feel now. The problem with attaching to things that are not necessarily serving you is that you stay with them on their journey. And now you're not currently in the moment dealing in real time with the stuff that's going on in the environment around you now, right? Mindfulness will bring you back to now. And you hear this from a mindfulness meditation standpoint. You're practicing presence, right? You're practicing not allowing yourself to attach to thoughts. You're practicing detachment. It's, like I said, super deep subject. But basically, the practice I want to give you for your daily is just mindful breathing. It's you sit quiet, you focus on your breath, you focus on the sensations of your body, you don't judge the sensations, and then you observe the thoughts as they go by you. And that's it. There are, like I said, there's so much depth to mindfulness training, and people make it all a big academic thing. But really, you want to detach from the identity that you have with the thoughts that come through or the emotions that come through. You want to notice where they come up, Because very often we're not aware in our body how those things are manifesting themselves physically, right? So when I feel betrayed, do I feel tight in my chest? Do I feel caved in? Do I feel like I'm not able to put myself completely and openly forward with people because now I'm afraid of what's going to happen after the fact, or if I'm going to be more invalidated if I continue to talk? Am I going to silence myself around these people? Like, when you're caught up in that headspace and you're doing all this tergiversations, you aren't focusing on what's going on right here, right now, and you're not focusing on the power that you have. You're not focusing on the options that are available to you. It brings you like this, and it takes you along a journey in time. Right? You're busy future projecting or past regressing, and just try to figure out, oh, okay, how am I going to keep myself safe and all this stuff. You're right in there. But if you can just be like, that's an emotion. I feel betrayed. I feel invalidated. I feel like I'm not going to be as effective in my communication. And you just kind of like let it go by. That's an emotion. Oh, yeah, I feel tight in my shoulders. I feel my breath is speeding up. Okay. You just wait and let the physiology kind of come back. Generally, I don't know where I heard this, but I've been teaching it for years, and I should probably figure out the source. But generally, your emotions only last a few seconds, maybe 15, 20 seconds, and then they fade. You have to future project, and you have to let your brain go through overthinking and all this other stuff to keep that emotion alive. Otherwise, your initial response is like, and then it fades off. And so when you practice the mindful breathing techniques, you actually focus on bringing yourself back to what's going on right now in the moment. So first thing is sit quietly, focus on your breath. And what I mean by focus on your breath is you can focus on whatever sensation happens when you breathe. Personally, I'm primarily kinesthetic, so I focus on the cold air coming in through my palate and down the back of my throat. And then I focus on that going down to the bottom. And then when I breathe out, I focus on the warm air coming out. The feeling of that, feeling the chest rise, feeling the shoulder tension melt as I expel the air. Right, I feel that. Right. Some people focus on the sound and the resonance that goes on in your head when you breathe through your nose. You can kind of focus on the sound, or you can focus on the visual. You can visualize blue air in, red air out, light air in, dark air out. You can create a visualization that whatever attaches to you more, you just focus on your breath. You can kind of look at the rate that it's going. You can watch it speed up and slow down. You can feel the syncopation between your breathing and your heartbeat. In a lot of higher level mindfulness training, you pay attention to your pulse, and then you intentionally try to slow the pulse down through breathing. And then you can watch it change over time. And that keeps you there in the moment. And as the emotions come up, because your brain is going to go do some shit, it's going to plan for the day or overthink something or whatever. When the emotions come up, then you just kind of let them go by without attaching and trying to go explore down where they're trying to lead you. Go back to your breath. And very often, without you prompting it, your mind will bring up some emotions and then throw them in your face, hoping that you'll get attached to them and float off into the distance and no longer be here in the present moment. If you ever find yourself floating off into the distance, you just come back to focusing on your breath. And then, as the thoughts come, you just observe things as they go by. Don't make any judgments. You just kind of like, oh, that's betrayal. That's joy. That's bliss. Okay. And you do that for 3 minutes. I do it for about 3 to 5. Right. I usually start with my natural breathing speed in that moment, and then I try to slow it down to where I'm doing kind of one every 4 or 5 seconds, and that's kind of what I do on counting. Then the thought comes. I let it go. Back to breathing. That's it. and then when I'm kind of slow and I kind of feel that slowness happen, I stop, and it's usually 3 or 5 minutes, right? So part of the morning routine, add the journaling. Saying, okay, what emotions am I experiencing yesterday? Or today. If you journal in the morning, then you talk about yesterday. But if you journal in the night, you talk about the day, right? And then you reflect on what triggered the emotions and figure what could I have done differently to get a different result. And then right, now that you're thinking and you got all that stuff done and you wrote it down and it's now in the journal or it's in the audio recorder or however you journal, then you sit down, zone out, focus on something present, right, on your breath. Like I said, there's a bunch of different ways to pull presence. I teach it in a bunch of different videos, and there's whatever. But this one is the one I want you to add to your daily routine. There's a lot of things kinesthetically, like the fist with your toes, and the focus on the things in the environment, and then when you're talking to somebody, to focus on things in their iris and stuff like that. There's all these things that we teach about mindfulness and about staying in the present moment. But I'm just a lot less woo-woo than a lot of the mindfulness teachers and the people I've studied. If you really want a cool book on mindfulness, it's called The Wise Heart by Jack Kornfield. He was like probably Dr. Jack Kornfield, I think. He is a Western psychologist, and he went and became a Buddhist, and he learned their techniques, and then he came back and sort of retranslated them into modern medical terms, and it's really good. Like it's still a little woo-woo, but if you want to go deep down that, try that. Wise Heart, Jack Kornfield. And but this is what I want you to add to your daily practice. Just 3 to 5 minutes of breathing and focusing on breathing, letting the thoughts go by, and pulling yourself back into the present moment by focusing on breathing again. Okay? Do that. And then the last thing I want you to do, another minute and a half, is set your daily intention. So if you do this in the morning, and I do most of my journaling at night, so I usually set the intention for the next day. But my gratitude practices in the morning, and we'll talk about that later. But in the morning, a lot of people find it valuable to set their daily intention in the morning. I don't, because in my planning system, I plan the next day the night before, and then when I get up, I do the whole make before you manage thing, and I create something from my sleepy ass brain to get into flow. So I don't do intention setting or planning or any sort of management before I do something creative. But anyway, set your daily intention. So write one thing you want to focus on tomorrow if you journal at night, or today if you journal in the morning. And it could be something big, like I want to be more patient today. I want to be more kind today. I want to be more productive today. I want to be noticed today. Like some of the more anxiously attached people will actually want to seek out, how can I be popular? How can I be accepted more? How do I chase people's validation without using people pleasing, right? So they'll focus on something big and then visualize how you want to carry out the intention. I have a whole thing on visualization. I'll probably put that in the link below. There's a book on how to do visualization, especially for dating, because that's my specialty and that's what I focus on. But visualize how you're going to carry out that intention through the day. So you don't have to visualize, like you don't have to make pictures in your brain if that's not primarily how your brain works. You can feel it. You can hear the sounds. You can narrate yourself through it through audio digital, right? Like you can talk your way through the situation. You don't have to create pictures. A lot of guys, I'll be like, all right, so visualize how you're going to take. You want to be more patient with people, so visualize a situation where you're going to have to be more patient. Visualize them triggering you, and then visualize you executing your version of patience and seeing how those results play out. And they'll be like, I can't make pictures in mind. I can't see it. All right, well, then talk yourself through it. Right? Be audio digital. I'm primarily audio digital and then secondarily kinesthetic, right? So I hear my own voice talking me through things first. That's my primary representational system. And then secondly, I feel it in my body. And then third is visual. Like it's hard for me to make pictures initially, and then as I'm feeling it, the pictures come, right? So you don't have to visualize. When I say visualize, you don't need to create an image in your mind. You can find some sort of representation from your internal representational system. If you hear things better, talk to yourself, narrate yourself through stuff, or if you visualize, all that stuff's good. You just run yourself through the scenario and let the emotions come up, and then visualize how you're going to make your intention happen, right? How you're going to carry it out. And like I said, that takes a minute and a half, right? So you got a minute and a half of quick journaling about your emotional system, like that's kind of logical, and you dump that logic into the journal and leave it there. It's safe there now. And then calm down, wipe your brain out, focus on present moment, focus on breathing, and then go in, okay, what do I want to focus on today? What's the big major goal? Okay, the major goal is to be more patient. The major goal is to be more assertive. The major goal is to, when I feel somebody stepping over my boundaries and I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, to put a line in the sand and say, no, let me think about that, and put it off, right? So then you visualize, okay, somebody's going to come up to me. They're going to be like, I want you to do this thing for me today. I don't really want to do it. And how do I respond to that? Not saying, oh, okay, and then try to people please them. No, I'm going to respond like, I don't know if I'm going to have time for that. Let me get back to you and let me know, right? Or whatever your strategy that you decide on is, visualize that strategy. Like, make it happen before it happens. And then what happens is during the day, when you come up against a scenario that triggers that emotion, you have a strategy in place that you've already sort of mentally practiced and rehearsed. And it only took a minute and a half in the morning, right? So in that, it's like an 8-minute thing, morning, everyday practice. Journal for a minute and a half. Go longer if you want to, but you at baseline, just, okay, what emotions do I feel? What could I have done differently? What triggered those things? Is there another path I could have taken, right? And then you breathe for 3 to 5 minutes. Stay present. Let the relaxation happen. You can even do guided mindfulness stuff. There's stuff on YouTube. If you search it, you're like guided mindfulness practice 10 minutes, and then like it'll come up with a video, and you listen to Jessica Halsop or Doxy or one of those guys who does all the hypnosis meditations. And Jessica Halsop's one of my favorite. I like her voice, but let the mindfulness thing happen, and then you go in, okay, what do I want to focus on today? Boom. It's like 8 minutes. You fucking handle it in the morning, or you handle it the night before, so that you have rehearsed that part of the day, and then your self-awareness is going to increase because you're actually dealing with problems in real time and with strategies and plans that you thought through, right? When you realize, a lot of times in the breathing practice, you'll realize that these emotions that come up that have nothing to do with the situations that you're going to encounter. And then you're like, oh, maybe I don't need to follow those emotions down the path, because those ones are just going to send me into a place where I can't find solutions in this area, right? So those things are going to increase your self-awareness. I said yesterday, do it in a minute and a half. And that is the journaling process, right? But you can do it in 8 minutes by doing all 3 of these things, okay? Other ways to do it is to set alarms on your phone, right? So you do that in the morning. You do the, or you do that in the night before or the morning, and then here's another practice you can use, right? You set an alarm in the morning. If you get up at 11, then set it at 11. If you get up at 8 or 7 in the morning, you set it at 7:30 or whatever, and just ask yourself, what do I want to feel today? What are the emotions I want to experience today? Sometimes this is joy. Sometimes this is productivity, whatever. Come up with it and be like, okay, what would I do today to feel that more often? You just think about that. And it takes like under a minute. Then you set an alarm in the midday and be like, okay, how am I feeling right now? You can literally put it in your calendar. How am I feeling right now? 5 minutes, 2 p.m. Right? Put it in your calendar, and then how am I feeling right now? And if how you're feeling right now doesn't match what you said in the morning, oh, I'm not feeling very productive. Okay, how do I modify that so the rest of my day is still cool? And then you put an alarm in the evening, like right after dinner or something, and then reflect on the things you're grateful for real quick. Like do a quick gratitude. Okay, what was I happy about today? Put yourself in a good state, and then you're like, okay, did I feel productive today? And if there's any things that could be a yes, even if they're tiny, celebrate that. You're like, fuck yeah, I got a little bit of traction on that, and I was super productive here. I got off track, but then I brought myself on track when I did my midday thing. Once you figure that out, then you're like, oh, okay, cool. And you do it again the next day. That's it. There's like 1 minute blocks. If you stick in the alarm and you literally label them, okay, what do I want to feel today? The middle one is, how am I feeling right now? Why is it? And what do I need to change if it doesn't match the mornings? And then in the nighttime, you go, okay, let me think about I'm grateful, what I learned today. And if you learned anything cool that had to do with productivity, you celebrate. You're like, fuck yeah. That's it. They're like, there's a minute there, minute there, minute there. And it brings you back into evaluating, okay, am I feeling the emotions I wanted to feel? And that creates self-awareness. Because some of those things, you'll feel these emotions and then you're like, or you won't feel them, you're like, why not? And then you have to find the answer. And that breeds self-awareness as a practice. Okay? I already recommended some books. What else is going on here? Okay. So common challenges for the daily practice of self-awareness. First thing is struggling to find the time to do it. What I find is that when people think it's really important, they'll find the time. So there was a time where I did a half-hour-long gratitude practice, and I would just do it every day. Turns out I don't need that much. I just need to remind myself. And I actually run through, the way I do gratitude is I run through a mala, which is a Buddhist or a Hindu. It's a bead thing. Looks like a rosary, but there's 108 beads on it, right? And I just start at one bead. I think I left it in the bathroom, but I usually wear it on my wrist. And I started one bead up. Okay, I'm grateful for the fact that I have legs. I'm grateful for my breath. I'm grateful for, after I quit smoking, I feel a lot better and more healthy. I'm grateful for, and I just bang, 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 and it takes like 4 minutes to get through them all. And I sit there and I associate with it, and I picture or I talk myself through it, and then I get through the end, and then I put it down. And what it does is just sort of resets your brain to focus on the things that you're happy about or you're grateful for. And I went on a tangent. The whole thing is we're trying to find time to do the things I said earlier. But anyway, you could put a gratitude practice an hour long if you want to. I used to do this Tony Robbins thing called Hour of Power, where I go through a bunch of different strategies and things. I found that I'm much better doing that at night before than I am in the morning, so I don't. And I put it into my journaling practice anyway. But struggling to find time is not really that much of an issue. If you think it's important, do it. And it's really easy to find time for it when all you're doing is like 8 minutes a day, right? Or 11 minutes a day. You have like the 5 minute, the minute and a half of journaling, the minute and a half of setting intentions, and then sandwich the 5 minute breathing in the middle in the morning. Boom, you're done. And then you have 3 more minutes of just checking in and reflecting based on when the alarms go off. You can find time for that. That's it. Like it's not hard. So you can set yourself to a reminder. I used to, when I was doing constant check-ins, I was doing a crazy mindfulness practice for a while, where I used a boxing timer. It's called a gym boss, and it's like just a little clip-on thing, and every interval, like every 8 minutes, it would go off and buzz. It was like a vibration, like a phone on silent, and I'd stick it in my belt loop, and every 8 minutes the thing would go off. I go, oh yeah, okay. What am I feeling right now? Cool. And then I'd go on with the rest of my day, and then 8 minutes later, right? So you can do stuff like that. Set the timers for real. You can do it on your Apple Watch. You can do it on your phone, calendar, whatever. But put timers in, and then you'll remember to stop for fucking a minute and go, okay, is this the way that I wanted it to be? Why not? And that's going to create that self-awareness for you. Like you're going to have a constant practice of being like checking in with yourself and being, am I feeling the way I want to feel? Am I doing what I wanted to do? Am I following the intentions that I set in the morning? Right? And then the second thing that can come up for you besides struggling to find the time is feeling overwhelmed, where it's like there's so much to do and priorities are shifting and all this stuff, and I don't have time for this, and so no. just do something and reset. Um, I found a lot of use in productivity with the Pomodoro technique, where you set a timer like 25 minutes to work, and then 5 minutes to do something completely different to reset your brain, and then go back to work. Right? Um, Very simply, you can, when you're feeling overwhelmed and you're just like, I just have to fucking power through and get through this. I got to make sure I get this phone call, and I got to clean this. And if I let this go, then and I don't go to the post office, and it's not going to get shipped. And you're thinking all this shit, and you go, okay, uh, I'm overwhelmed. Breathe real quick. What emotions am I feeling right now? Emotion of overwhelm. What does that mean? I should probably prepare. Okay. I'm going to put a flag in this. I should probably prepare so this doesn't come up next time, because I don't need to be being overwhelmed by this. Cool. And then go back to, okay, go to the post office, do this, right? You can just stop for a second, reset your brain, and then go. There's a lot of value in that. Because that self-awareness muscle starts to get trained, and then you start finding solutions that you couldn't find before, because you're not just busy responding to the environment. Just remember, consistency is way more important than perfection. If you just constantly bring yourself back to presence, and you focus on being aware of what you're feeling and why you're feeling right now, then, and you do that every day, and you do it multiple times a day, you will get better at the self-awareness thing by default. You don't have to be perfect at it. You don't have to find all the solutions right now. If you get caught by an emotion and dragged down into future projection, you can just bring yourself back. It's not a big deal. The whole point of this practice is for you to do things that get you better at it, to flex that muscle, the self-awareness muscle, and make it much stronger, and so that it can support your resilience into the future. We'll talk a lot about resilience later this month, but there's a lot of research behind the resilience stuff that makes you just a better human for yourself, your goals, and everybody around you. Third thing is, so what things that can get away of doing a daily practice: struggling to find the time, feeling overwhelmed, and then facing difficult emotions. Like, there are things that happen that are hard to deal with, and they take over your brain. Grief is one of them, right? So my mom died 4 months ago, and there were parts of the day where I would just numb out, and like, because the weight of that loss for me was very large, right? Like, I had to just deal with it, and there are times where those difficult emotions come up, and you have to pause and allow those things to flow through. Sometimes they take you with them for a bit, and you snap back to presence, then they drag you down again, and then you snap back to presence. That's fine. Like I said, consistency is better than perfection. But if you start facing super difficult emotions, things that can shut you down, or maybe you just want to fucking sleep all day, or get into a depression spiral, right? Like I said, I'm a coach, not a therapist. I'm not board certified psychologist or anything, so this is just my opinion. Okay, I'm not going to tell you how to deal with depression from a professional standpoint, but what I find is super useful for me is to approach things with curiosity. Right? Okay, why do I feel that way? Why do those consequences necessarily need to happen the way that I'm visualizing them right now? Huh. You think that's air you're breathing now? And then, okay, fuck that. Wipe the slate, go do whatever I'm doing. Right? Just send the questions into the universe, into the ether, and what comes back is generally much more viable when you're in presence than when you're kind of playing the same scripts from childhood over and over and over again. So yeah, those are the 3 things that can get in the way: struggling to find time, feeling overwhelmed, facing difficult emotions. Just be a little bit curious and let them pass. Right? So as a conclusion to this daily, the daily practice to increase your self-awareness so your relationships get better. It doesn't require hours of meditation. You don't go super complicated with your routine. You can go Celestine, what do you call it? Oh, Miracle Morning, and do an hour of this and do the reading and the savers and all that stuff. You can do all that, and I've done that, and I have pretty sophisticated routines that I've used over the years. What I find that's most useful for me is to set little alarms, and let them fire off, and just check in for a second, and then go back to my day. And then it doesn't require all that stuff. If you just take your fucking 11 minutes a day, spread out over the day, 3 minutes morning, evening, night, and then you do your 8 minutes in the morning of breathing and all that shit, you're going to transform the way that you understand yourself, because you're constantly checking in and reminding yourself that there are other options. And then, so start small, 11 minutes a day, 8 in the morning, and a minute at each interval, and stay consistent, and your self-awareness is going to grow. You're going to be able to see more things about yourself rather than kind of checking out into the future projection stuff and feeling like you're at effect or a victim to your environment. Best time to begin is now. So if you don't have a journal, grab a journal. I use Moleskines. I don't know where mine is. Oh, it's in the bag. I have this little bag. Oh. So I use this thing. You can find these at basically any bookstore, Barnes & Noble, that kind of stuff. I put little anime waifu stickers on it because I'm a nerd. And then, do all my stuff. You just write your journal stuff. And like I said, I'm going to go super deep on my journaling system because David wants me to do it. But different pen colors and the whole organizational thing I use for my time management. But right now, just fucking write the emotions you experienced today, and why they happened, and what other options you could have taken. And the more consistent that you are at doing this, the more of these options are going to sort of show up to you, and you're going to kind of manifest better opportunities from a logical way. So that's my thing. Daily routines in order to build your self-awareness. And then tomorrow we're going to jump into some more tactical stuff for relationships and emotional intelligence. So, yeah, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. There's a button here. And you will get more of my half-hour-long daily deep dives onto these little concepts. A book's coming about this stuff with a 30-day action plan. So just click the link and get on the pre-sale list for it, and we'll send you notifications when it's coming out. It'll be available on Amazon and PDF and all the different formats. And so, yeah. Otherwise, I don't think there's anything else. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for joining me here. Until tomorrow, stay awesome.